By the way, he's going to be coming as a freshman at Boyce College, so welcome in advance, Dixon. Currently a part of a worship team. We've been discussing whether we should sing songs written by, and the group here is Bethel Music out of Redding, California. Many of their songs have rich biblical truth, but their ministry teaches false theology. Should we sing their songs, basically? Well, that's a very interesting question. And my first instinct is to say no. Because just having nothing to do with error, and there's some pretty spectacular error out there. My first instinct is to say no, but I have to check that a little bit. Let me tell you why. In the early church, one of the big problems was figuring out what to do with people who had been Christians by their profession of faith, and they had functioned even in Christian ministry. But then they committed apostasy, that is, that they publicly denied the faith. And in the context of Roman persecution, when forced to choose between Caesar and Christ, they chose Caesar. So the question is, what do we do with their ministry? The most important question was, what do we do with the baptisms that they performed? The early church trying to figure that out. You know, even though they may not have been Christians, the baptism was still a Christian baptism in accordance with this thinking. And that same logic is applied to the fact that if someone says something that's true, it's true even if they say things that are untrue. But that doesn't perfectly answer the question, because I wouldn't sing a Jehovah's Witness hymn no matter how much orthodoxy was in it, even if it left out the heterodoxy of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But it's a little harder when it comes to some hymns. For instance, that wonderful hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul." And the fact is, it wasn't well with the soul of the hymn writer not long after he wrote that hymn. But you know, we still sing it, and its words are still so filled with gospel content. And so I would say this, and Dix and I really appreciate the question. It's a theologically sensitive question. If singing the song is going to be an affirmation of God's truth and without any complications in the context of the congregation, then it probably isn't an issue. But if singing that song means that it's somehow understood to be an endorsement of that movement, or, you know, frankly, if it's confusing to the congregation, then by definition you shouldn't do it. And you know, even when it comes to a hymn like "It Is Well With My Soul," I feel at times we have to explain that story and even tell the truth. But at the same time, we sing those songs. And this is also very much the case for some other movements that have, you know, frankly, a very thin theology and sometimes bigger problems than that. But they have some really very effective and moving hymnody and music that they've written. But I just want to go on to say one other thing, Dixon. Most of the complicated questions we have are avoidable. There is so much good music out there from sources that are completely trustworthy and true. There are so many good, wonderful gospel hymns. I would just generally go back to my first instinct and say, I just wouldn't use anything that involves any complication that I would later have to explain. And I think that's probably a pretty good rule. And you have a pretty good instinct, I think, in asking that question. Look forward to welcoming you to Boyce as a member of the new class.